I'm Jesse McQuarters, editor of Step Brand Studio, and I'm here in Las Vegas for the Assembia 2026 conference, here with Krystal Haynes, who's the Senior Director of Cencora's ICS division. Krystal, so wonderful to talk with you and to be here in Las Vegas with you.
Likewise, thank you.
All right, so can you just tell me a little bit about the work that you do, commercializing pharmaceutical products and working across the country and the world?
Sure. The greatest thing about Cencora is our scale and integrated approach. So we believe in servicing clients and manufacturing partners for the full product journey for specialty therapy. So that means clinical to commercial services. My team specializes in the 3PL, so high quality logistics from a warehousing perspective. We serve as an extension of our manufacturing partners, so their success is our success with launching these therapies. We dig deep into both emerging therapies and any therapies that might be cell and gene to the market, and really help them push past the regulatory pieces and ultimately reach the patients.
Absolutely, an enormously complex puzzle that you guys are putting together as an organization, right?
Yes, absolutely. So for us, the global movement of these products are very important. There's a lot of complexity around temperature control, chain of custody, chain of identity, and how all that flows across the ecosystem. Cencora does take pride in being a full service end-to-end commercial provider, but also for us as a logistics provider for our manufacturers, we want to nod our head yes and really pull together the processes, people, and work streams to eliminate the complexity. We engage often and frequently and really help them push past any barriers that they might be experiencing to launch their therapy.
All right, so Krystal, can you tell me how your team supports the therapy journey today and what outcomes are you most focused on improving?
So today, specifically in the logistics space, for new therapies that are launching, we'll look at what the temperature control might be first and foremost. So we've moved past the industry of just ambient and controlled room temperatures. We're seeing a lot of cold chain complexities in the 2 to 8, frozen, ultra low, and now cryogenic space. So I think really in my 5 years here, we've seen a large increase in helping manufacturers launch cell and gene therapies. So we specialize in business development first and foremost. That's my role. And we'll outline the product specific. How do we keep the integrity of the product while it's in the warehouse or when it's in transit? If there's anything happening, how do we divert that product to make sure it's staying within the temperature controlled requirements that is required of that product while it's shipping. Also, we provide full order to cash services. So that includes EDI, phone, fax, sometimes carrier pigeon, if that's needed, to make sure we can get those orders from sites, academic centers, and then fulfill the distribution from out the warehouse. We also will serve through our SOC 1 and SOC 2 compliance as a financial hub for some manufacturers, making sure that we're doing their collectibles, receivables, and cash applications to keep them compliant for any type of auditing situation. We have a lot of services, for example, an account manager that is a conduit into our business or a single point of contact that's really proactive and consultative, because a lot of our partners, it's not just the one therapy, it's multiple therapies. Or they're looking to scale because disease has no borders, so neither should we. We should be able to go within the States or anywhere within Europe or Canada and make sure that the patients can receive the therapy that they've worked so hard to launch and commercialize.
What are the biggest friction points you see preventing innovative therapies from reaching the right patients quickly, and how does your team remove or reduce those barriers?
I would say the top two today are the disconnect and visibility across the data between the patient and the product journey, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And the second thing is the regulatory environment keeps changing, and it's introducing global complexities for a lot of manufacturing partners. So first and foremost, when it comes to the regulatory changes, we've really beefed up our quality, regulatory, and compliance team. And what that means is we're looking at an integrated, careful risk approach with our manufacturing partners. And we're trying to say, hey, let's get ahead of your filing. Let's look at this to prevent that rework, to prevent any type of delays or resubmissions. We want it right the first time. So we look at runways 12, 18 months down the road, right? So that we're bringing the ecosystem, we're bringing the processes together, and we're talking about that collectively. When it comes to data and disconnects across the data stream, it is about orchestrating precision, right? Specifically for cell and gene therapies. And so we're looking at partnerships with TrackCell, TraceLink, right? Looking at the complete connectivity across the data and making sure that we are able to nod our head yes at any time as that product is moving, it can meet the patient where they're at. So those are things that we are strategizing around because our strategic point at Cencora is to be the global leader for distribution. So that focal point helps push us forward around some of those constraints and bottlenecks. And we are trying to be proactive, right, as much as possible. And I think, in my opinion, it's an industry gap that the more that we rally and bring our collective intelligence together, we can solve that problem.
Absolutely, and I know that we're talking about extraordinarily complex therapies sometimes. Sometimes they need to be delivered overnight to places, all around the world. Tell me about that complexity a little bit and how data can sort of solve some of those issues.
Yeah. I always say at the dinner table, right, every partner, every choice that manufacturers or we make in the pharmaceutical industry matters. So being able to connect across each and every point and try to eliminate that friction is very, very important to us. So for example, there are times where a partner or manufacturing client might want an omni-channel or very diverse trade and channel, and that will require us to partner across different pharmacies to make sure that there's what we would call a drive-by model, right, where it's actually stopping at 2 locations. So I have to make sure you get the box, you put your label as the pharmacist on that box so that it can ultimately go to the site at the time the patient is there. And we take pride in making sure that they're timely, right, that we know who it's being delivered to, and it's within, the temperature-sensitive requirements.
All right, and you've touched on it a little bit, but what capabilities matter most to deliver reliable solutions at scale?
For me, it's infrastructure, expertise, and execution. I think a lot of the times when we start working with manufacturing partners, we're easily able to showcase the infrastructure, right? Cencora is investing heavily in our warehouses. So specifically in the U.S., we have 4 of them. We're about to open a new one in Dallas, Texas, which is very exciting to us. So we are going to have over 2 million square feet in our U.S. network alone. And so as we invest, we also need to execute. Right? So we bring the manufacturing partners in and it's not just one partner, right? It's not just the market access guy, the trade and channel or procurement guy. We want to talk to quality. We want to talk to CMC. We want to talk to anybody that has touched that therapy or has a mission to make sure that moves forward so that we expose gaps early, right? We try not to make assumptions, right? Because assumptions and moving past the theoretical of how to move these therapies is extremely key for us. And so we're documenting, we're applying our expertise. And again, it's about collective intelligence, right? Because a lot of the times when we're working in this industry, it's not new pharmaceutical leaders in this industry, right? You're looking at people that have been around for 20 plus years. And so when we sit at a table, it's very cool. We're mapping the work streams, we're looking at the patient ecosystem and the product ecosystem, and we're collectively making decisions that ultimately drive success.
All right, and we're here at Asembia, which is a gathering of the industry, definitely a chance to look forward a little bit. As you look at the next 12 to 24 months, what industry shift are you watching most closely, and how are you partnering to achieve those things?
Cencora and all of us are very much focused on this movement that we're seeing around cell and gene therapies. Worldwide, there are over 30 to 40 therapies approved between the EMA and the FDA. Specifically in the US, there are 30 approved, and between our distribution and our logistics, we're touching these products about 12 different types of programs. And what's interesting is it's a fit for purpose. They're very novel. So every launch that we've had, every interaction with these manufacturers has been very different. The second thing is the global movement. Our alliance, our World Courier international capabilities are unlocking a lot for manufacturing partners. Previously, they would have to sell off their rights, right, to a manufacturer, somebody that's local to those markets. But we have this central model now that can focus on each local market so they keep their rights, right? And that's important to them, right? Because they've spent 10, 20 years right? Developing this drug, getting past every phase of the clinical trial. So those are the two things for us, right? Cell and gene and global product movement so that manufacturers can really make the most out of what they're doing in the world for healthcare.
All right, Krystal Haynes, Senior Director of ICS at Cencora. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with Step Brand Studio and chat today.
Yeah, thanks for the great questions. I appreciate it.